Today, I will share with you a step-by-step guide about how to striking out pleadings in accordance to Order 18 Rule 19. So, the court may strike out a process of pleadings on the four grounds as according to the Order 18 Rule 19, which is first, there is no reasonable cause of action or defense. Pleadings are scandalous, frivolous, or vexatious. Third, pleadings will prejudice, embarrass, or delay the trial of the action. And thirdly, pleadings are otherwise an abuse of court process. So, to apply this to striking out in pleadings or endorsements, a party may apply through opponent pleadings or any part of it, and also through the plaintiff endorsement on the writ. Now, the question is, who can apply to strike out pleadings? So both party can apply to strike out. So firstly, if the defendant is applying, there's two possible applications that can be done. Either to strike out plaintiff's endorsement on the writ, or to apply to strike out plaintiff's statement of claim by whole part of it. So if the defendants apply to strike out the plaintiff's statement of claim, plaintiff's action will be dismissed with cause and no more cause of action available against the defendant. Meanwhile, if the plaintiff strike out the whole defense of the defendant, the court will give judgment to the plaintiff. If the plaintiff strikes out a part of it, the court will ask the question whether the remaining defense is enough to remain sustainable as a defense against plaintiff's claim. But if the answer is yes, the case may be proceeded to the court, while if the answer is no, the court will grant judgment to the plaintiff against the defendant. Let's take a look at a few examples of cases. On the first case, Dominic Selbum. So in this case, it stated that the application can be made on any grounds prescribed, although only disjunctively. And second case is Russia Interpersonal. So in this case, the plaintiff's application was being dismissed because it stated that it's being flawed due to his failure to state the grounds of application. So it is important to state your grounds of application in accordance to Order 18 Rules 19. Next, to the question, when to apply to strike out the pleadings. According to case Jamil bin Hassan against Kami, the court stated that the application should be made promptly and before the close of the pleadings, but it may be refused if the matter has already been set down for trial. Party that delay the application to strike out may affect the party's chances to succeed in his application. This is because even though it stated that in Order 18 at any time of the proceeding, the court still laid down that it should be made at the early stage. For example, in the case of Bank Bumiputra Malaysia, the court has emphasized that in application to strike out pleading, it is important to note that the application made to strike out must be made promptly and without delay, but it's preferably being made before the close of pleading, which during the early stage. Now, we're moving on to the grounds of application. Earlier, I have stated that there are four grounds of application according to Order 18 Rule 19. We move on to the first, no reasonable cause of action or defense. So we can see in the case Unibright Electrical Engineering. This case defines that a reasonable cause of action means a solid claims with some chances to win and not just merely an allegation. This cause of action will be determined first by the court, which it must be disclosed in the statement of claim to see whether there is serious question to be tried or just weak facts of case. So, if there is no cause of action, if the party reasonably believes that there is no reasonable cause of action, the party can apply to strike out the pleadings. Now, let's take a look at few examples of cases. First, in the case Muhammad Azam Shuja. So, in this case, the plaintiff applied for both summary judgment and also to strike out the pleadings. However, the court stated that the plaintiff can only apply for one and not both at the same time. On the second case, Tai bin Awang. So, in this case, the plaintiff applied for malicious prosecution. However, the court stated there is no cause of action because the case was still being on the appeal stage. Therefore, there is no cause of action on this case. Moving on to the second ground, pleadings abuse court process. So what is abuse court process? It's being defined in the case Gabriel, Peter and Partners, where the court stated that there is a wide interpretation of abuse court process, which also includes the interest of justice and consideration of the society. So now we can take a look at the example of cases. For the first case, uncertainty. So in this case, the court dismissed the plaintiff's order for 14 summons and the plaintiff was dissatisfied with the decision. This is because later, the plaintiff applied to wind up the defendant's company, but it did not state any justification of why he wanted to petition to wind up the company. So the court later found out that the plaintiff's action just wanted to embarrass the defendant. On the second case, Muhammad Daud bin Saleh against Kamarudin. So in this case, the defendant applied to strike out the plaintiff's claim on the ground that it did not have any reasonable cause of action and it might cause an abuse to the court process. However, the court held that in this case, the plaintiff's cause of action was under private law, which it was seeking for remedy under tort of negligence. If the court strike out the pleadings, it might cause an injustice against the plaintiff. So we can see based on this case what are the definition of abuse of the court process. In conclusion, you must follow all the requirements required by the law in order for your application to be succeed and not being dismissed by the court, which first, you must state your grounds of application to strike out the pleadings, and second, preferably it must be made at the earliest stage of the pleadings. So that's all from me. Thank you.